Racing. I think there's a lot of people on Periscope who want to see a behind-the-scenes tour of Stewart-Haas Racing. I handle all the PR and communication for Stewart-Haas Racing. So let's check things out. Come with me. So here's something that everybody can see. This is our lobby. A lot of the time it's filled with cars. A lot of the time it isn't. These are all show cars that travel the country. So if we have a lot of them in here, a lot of times that's December, January. Only have 4, so there's probably a bunch of show cars going around the country that you can see at gas stations and shops and retailers and things like that. We even have the Chevrolet that drove the Bush Throwback scheme at Darlington Raceway out here. And hang on this one. Fine folks in the gift shop, they're always ready and available to sell stuff to you. Tell them I sent you, they'll give you a 10% discount. So a couple of our, more than a couple, a bunch of our trophies, the 2 Sprint Cup Series championships. Always room for a third. We'll figure out how to make room for more trophies and championships. But anybody can see that. Anybody can see the cars, anybody can see our trophies. Not everybody can see behind the race shop.
Uh-oh, we're breaking the rules. No cameras.
So we are on the shop floor at Stewart-Haas Racing. We've done pretty well in the chase in the past. Here's an example of how the Stewart and Stewart-Haas Racing did back in 2011 for the team's first championship. And of course, our second championship came in 2014. In care of the guy who drives the number 4 Chevrolet for us, Kevin Harvick. This is the car that was at Homestead, that won the race and the championship. Still has all the confetti from Victory Lane in that championship celebration. And as you can see, there's still plenty of room for another championship-winning car to be placed. You can easily make the room. Logistics are not a problem at all. But as we talk about race cars, here's one that's a little different and has some history to it. This is actually a 2002 Chevrolet Monte Carlo. The foundation of Stewart-Haas Racing is actually Haas CNC Racing. That was Gene Haas's first endeavor into the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series, and this is the car that Jack Sprague, a former Truck Series champion, drove at Kansas in 2002. And this was the older generation car. You can tell it's a lot different. One, it's a Monte Carlo compared to the SS. But you can see what the Gen 6 car and the differences are compared to the older Generation 5 car. But this was the beginning of Stewart-Haas Racing. But it's appropriate that the quarter panels say Haas Automation, because in here is our machine room where we're using all the latest and greatest Haas CNC machines to manufacture various parts and pieces for our race cars. So mills and lathes making, whether it's basic parts or go-fast parts and pieces, things that nobody is supposed to see, are made right here, all with Haas Automation CNC machines. It's a bit of an unfair advantage that we'll gladly take, because it's something that we get through Gene Haas's company, Haas Automation, and it allows us to do a lot of cool stuff, build a lot of cool things, but also basic things. But really anything, at one point in time, this was a block of metal. Now it's a pretty cool part piece for a race car. Again, I'm the PR guy, so I have no idea what it does, but I know it's cool and it's going to do a lot for us down the road. But this is it, and let's go see how some of these parts and pieces make their way onto our race cars by checking out the shop floor. So we have 4 Sprint Cup teams. Obviously, we've got the 4 car for Kevin Harvick, 10 car for Danica Patrick, the 14 car for Tony Stewart, and the 41 car for Kurt Busch. So what that means is that throughout the course of the year, Stewart-Haas Racing is fielding and preparing about 60 race cars, short track cars, intermediate track cars, cars that run on the concrete tracks like Dover and Bristol, road course cars. Cars get wrecked, they gotta be fixed. Cars get a bunch of mileage on them, they just get outdated. We gotta have new cars coming in. So that's why you see all the cars coming down here. They're all in various states of where they're going. And we can't show you all these cars because they are in various states of construction. We have parts and pieces that we don't want you to see and nobody else needs to see them too, especially our competitors. We do have a lot of those banners. So actually, if you're seeing the shop floor, we're going past an area that none of y'all need to see, even though it would be really, really cool. You're gonna check out a beautifully clean shop floor. Yes, so actually, let's take you to one cool part. We're gonna keep that, you're gonna look at some concrete some more. We're gonna check out some of the things that our drivers need to use and how we keep our drivers prepared as well for a NASCAR Sprint Cup Series race weekend. So here is Kurt Busch's locker. And so what the team is doing now is getting everything together that Kurt will need for a race weekend at Dover International. Biggest and probably coolest part is the helmet. So cool air goes in here, keeps his head nice and cool, radio wire, everything that you need to get through a race weekend. 400 miles of Dover is a long time, but also communicate with the team. We'll set this right here. Here is a Hans device. And if you wonder where it attaches, so these little grommets right here, attach right here. Revolutionary, has saved a lot of drivers. Couldn't live without it, quite literally. Gloves from Alpine Stars, color coordinated. Same with the shoes. And if you look at these, what are these? These are heat shields. So the floorboards of these cars get massively hot. The header and the exhaust runs right out the side of the floorboards. So there's a ton of heat being generated up by these things. So what the drivers do is they slip these little booties on, right like that, and it's a layer of heat protection, very similar to the same kind of heat protection that is on the space shuttle. It deflects heat so that your heels don't get burned. But there are some tracks, road courses in particular, where this just isn't enough because the heat is so high the drivers still get blistered heels. And just like we have an inventory of race cars, we have an inventory of helmets, drink bottles, gloves, uniforms, what have you, because the sponsorship on the 41 car, in this case with Kurt, is split between Haas Automation and Monster Energy. So depending on the race weekend, Haas Automation is the primary or Monster Energy is the primary, and the fire suit will reflect that. So these are Haas fire suits. Here is a Monster fire suit, and we have a locker just like this for every one of our drivers with all the various sponsor affiliations that they have where it's reflected in their fire suit and things like that. So we'll probably ask you to put the camera down and you can look at some beautiful gray primer here on our shop floor while we take you to another area of the shop that's a lot here called Equal Weight. Well, various states of work, but one of the things, let's see, let's get more cars straight ahead. Let's see. So that's one of the cars getting prepped right now. We're not going to send you to the left or the right. These other cars in various states of production that you might think is very cool to see. I know you guys would think it'd be cool to see, but our competitors, they don't need to see any of this. It's cutting edge. And then all these banners, we filled up one side of the room. We had to go to the other side of the room. And we're actually a little bit behind in our banner hanging. The last banner that we have up is Sonoma, Tony Stewart's win there. We need Kevin's win from Bristol, and we need Kevin's most recent win at New Hampshire. We got to put that. We still have some room, and we got, we'll definitely make room for another yellow banner if it's available as well. So we're going to keep you up high for a little bit because we got some cool, go-fast parts and pieces that none of y'all can see. Sorry about that. So in here, this is where it's right here, are toolboxes. Toolboxes for the 41, toolbox for the number 14, and that's exactly what it is. Everything has a place, a part, so everything that you could possibly need. These are actually rolled into our transporters and unloaded at each track as soon as the car comes out. And these are our guys hanging out. You are live on there. Wave, everybody. So we got the Bubble 1 toolbox for the 14, the Bush Beer toolbox for the 4 car, the Bakery toolbox for the 10 car. Let's head outside. You can see where all these trucks go. So here's our truck bay. Here's the 4 truck. Behind it is the 10 truck. Behind it is the 41 truck. And let's check out the 14 truck. Right. So if you're ever wondering how do we get these 3,400 pound race cars, 2 of them, into these transporters, well, what we do, we push them on to this lift gate. And then with a touch of a button, quite literally, this lift gate lifts up, and we're able to load the car in there. The backup car goes first. It's the first car in because we don't ever want to touch it over the course of a race weekend. Once the backup car is in, and when the primary race car is ready, do the same thing. Primary race car is up here, unloaded on a race weekend. Ideally, that's the car that we're loading back in, filled with confetti. So come on in here. We'll show you everything, what the transporter's about. You know, the transporter does everything for us. It's part locker room. These are cubbies for all the crew guys where they keep their stuff. It's lunchroom. You know, it's a kitchen. We're a bunch of guys, so you know we do our own cooking. Microwave. But we got freezer, fridge. Once the fire suits come back from the cleaners, they'll go in here, and this will be stock packed, and this actually becomes a locker room prior to the race, and shortly thereafter, as all of our crew guys will change out of their fire suits and into the street clothes that they'll wear on the plane ride home. Let's see here. Are all the radios that we will use during the course of a race weekend, getting charged up, ready to roll. So everybody just takes their radio, their headset, puts them on, and they are all set. Every team in the garage, not just Stewart-Haas Racing, every team. So when you have 40 NASCAR Sprint Cup Series teams rolling into a NASCAR race, they all have this. Again, organization is key. Every nut and bolt has its place, literally. And our fine friends at Bass Pro Shops, their tackle boxes work extremely well for helping us keep everything organized. Let's see what else we have here. So, in here, so those are springs, sorry, not showing you those. This is where we put our gear car. So the gears are still being worked on, and it's empty right now, so we can show you the empty space. But this whole hauler, all the nooks and crannies will be filled. Those toolboxes that you saw, the number 14 toolbox will be wheeled right down here, along with gas cans and coolers and things like that. And the beauty about this, it is designed to carry all this weight, and it still has to meet the same DOT regulations that a truck hauling lettuce or toys or something like that has to deliver. This is where Dave Hansen, the shock specialist on the 14, spends his entire weekend. And no, he's not just chilling out. He's actually working extremely hard, building shocks. This is a shock dyno. So when you hear we need a set of soft springs or a set of hard springs, something in between, a shock dyno, the shock goes right into here, and it kind of rotates up and down, essentially simulates a lap around the racetrack. This is how Dave can build a shock to the crew chief specifications for every corner of the race car. So let's see. Let's head up here to the lounge. So the lounge is really, it's more of an office, it's part locker room, it's debriefing area. Our engineers and crew chief Mike Bugger Rabbits usually sits right here. They're dialed into the live feed, the live network feed. They're dialed into live timing and scoring, as well as the analytics they can pull together to see where the 14 car as well as the other 8 SHR cars are running in comparison to each other. So the days of lounges having nice couches and things like that, they're gone. This is very much a working environment. The only fluffy seat is right here for the driver while he's debriefing with his engineers and crew chiefs. And actually, if you turn around, and you'll see the area where these, oh yeah, we got Tony's locker right up here. So fire suits go here. Again, once they're coming back from the dry cleaner, this will be all stocked up. Numerous sponsor shirts are ready to go. Regardless of who's on the car, we've got the proper sponsor shirt for Tony Stewart to wear there at a hospitality appearance, or if he's going to the media center. And then, if you look up here, you can get a better idea as to where those cars are parked. So they'll be wheeled right up top, ratcheted down so they don't move anywhere. But this is how we transport, essentially, our team, the one that you just saw on the shop floor at Stewart-Haas Racing, you know, way up the eastern seaboard to Dover National Street. And we will do this 38 weekends out of the year. 36 points. So we got to keep in mind, we start our season off with the non-point sprint unlimited, and then we got the NASCAR All-Star race. We just run for cash and bragging rights. Transporters are cool, but they're all pulled with Peterbilts from Rush Truck Center. So this is Tony Stewart's hauler. Beautiful Peterbilt from Rush Truck Centers. Lots of chrome. These are going to get cleaned up before they hit the road. Here's actually Danica's hauler, nicely shined up and ready to roll. So this team car will be in the rotation to get cleaned up in a little bit. And this is one of our haulers that takes our R&D cars, our test cars. Again, you can see the Rush Truck Centers logo right down there. But where these trucks see a lot of their duty is when, at the beginning of the year, when we're doing that West Coast swing, where we start the season off, we're in Daytona for 2 weeks, and then we have a race somewhat close to home with Atlanta. But then we go out on the West Coast swing, and that's, let's say, I forget the actual rotation of it, whether it's Las Vegas, Phoenix, Montana, or what have you, but basically the team transporters with the primary and the backup, they stay out there. So when, let's say, Phoenix is over and then we got to switch and go to Las Vegas, this truck drove out to Phoenix with the cars that we're racing in Las Vegas. Then after the race in the garage area, the cars that were just raced get unloaded off the truck. The cars that were brought out from our shop here in Kannapolis get offloaded. They get switched. Phoenix or the Vegas cars would get loaded onto our transporters and they'd stay out west and head to Vegas. The cars that just ran in Phoenix, they're brought back to Kannapolis, North Carolina on these trucks. And then this all repeats itself all over again when we go to Fontana. And the same thing happens, I believe, when we're out at the end of the year in Phoenix. Our trucks, I'm trying to think how that works. There's been a couple times where we swap things out, but now that we go to Homestead, I think there's a quick turnaround here before everything gets loaded up and headed out. But that's what we got. This is truly behind the scenes. It's you've seen how everything comes together, from walking in the door to the fleet of show cars, to the trophies that we all strive for every weekend, the preparation that goes on the shop floor, not just with the race cars, but how we keep our drivers ready and prepared, in this case for 400 miles at Dover. But all that preparation is for naught if these Peterbilt for Rush Truck Centers don't get our cars there. That's why we're very happy to have these rigs and these drivers and this kind of equipment, because we can't do it without it. These might be the most important pieces of our fleet. Like I said, if you don't have your race cars at the racetrack, well, you're not going anywhere, you're not scoring any points. So I think that's everything. Well, I know that's everything that I can show you guys. So hopefully you've enjoyed this Periscope tour of Stewart-Haas Racing. Definitely tune in to the Dover race this weekend. We got practice and qualifying on Friday. We got more practice on Saturday, and of course we got the race on Sunday on NBC Sports Network. So tune in. Sayonara. Thank you very much.